To today's show. This is a huge one. So Trump has now told Mike Johnson, the leader of the House, to make sure the voter integrity bill called the SAVE Act is attached to the spending bill, or else just let the government shut down. He said if we can't have free and fair elections, then what's the point of the elections? Let me know your thoughts on this. There's a lot of people that would be affected, already talking about this in the chat. Also, Trump and J.D. Vance have just announced, and this is really bad news for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, that if Trump wins the presidency, he is coming after all and firing the leaders of the FBI, the CIA, the DHS, the CDC, the 51 FBI officials that signed off on the Hunter Biden laptop story. He said, and even more, he is going to make sure that no department is being used or weaponized against political opponents. This is insane because we all know there's something going on behind the scenes. We also have newly released data showing that government workers are getting paid 40% more on average for basically doing the same job that those in the private sector do, but they're using our taxpayer dollars to make sure they get raises, even though the average American isn't getting that kind of help. So we've got a lot of breaking news today. Want to say thank you to everybody that is supporting the channel. Thank you to all of our subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. And just want to give a shout out to Brian Turner 1951 for blessing us with the super chat. And just want to say thank you to everybody that blesses me and my family with the super chat. We are so grateful. We are here to serve you. And just want to remind everybody about joining the True Life News community. The links are in the description. It's less than $1 per month. Our goal is to get to 10,000, and we want to take that money and go do some good in this world. Record it, and you be a part of it. We love you all. Thank you for supporting us. But let's get right into this because this is a big one today. Check it out.
Budget appropriations and China Select Committees, Congressman Klein. So give us the state of play here, because obviously Johnson had a political problem within the party, didn't seem to have the support. But what is the plan B to get some type of CR to the Senate?
Well, right now we're focused on keeping the government running, avoiding a shutdown, and ensuring that we have free and fair elections this November by ensuring that you can't register to vote if you're not a citizen of this country. It's common sense. The Democrats don't support it. We have members discussing how long a CR should last, whether it should be 6 months or 3 months, and that's encouraging us to take another week just to make sure we've got the votes before we take that vote to continue the government spending through the holidays and into the new year.
So
just to remind everybody, September 30th, if they haven't passed this bill, that means the government is shut down. So there's only 16 days left.
Would you vote for, if the Senate kicks this back, say that it gets there without the SAVE Act attached, or the Senate strips it out, which is more likely, would you vote for the continuing resolution and avoid a shutdown? Are you willing to take a chance on a government shutdown, which some of your colleagues have said could be political suicide in an election year?
Nobody wants a government shutdown, and we're hoping to avoid that. But if the Democrats want to oppose simple policy like registering only citizens being able to vote in our elections and having to provide proof of citizenship to register to vote, if Chuck Schumer wants to kill that in the Senate, well, that's going to be on him, and the voters are going to remember that in November. But instead, we're going to continue to focus on policies that are of concern to the American people right now. They're of concern that our elections need to be ensured that they are safe and secure.
Yes.
All right, well, we'll see what the next move is by Speaker Johnson as a shutdown, or at least funding, and the end of funding is quickly approaching at the end of this month. Democrat New York Congressman Jerry Nadler, one of your colleagues, he was slammed for appearing to doze off during testimony from mothers whose children were allegedly murdered by illegal migrants.
This
was
is
during
so
House
bad.
Judiciary Committee hearings earlier this week. You were there. You are on this committee. Texas Congressman Chip Roy posted the photo of Nadler on X, and he wrote, quote, "From frustrated families in the audience, listening to witnesses who lost loved ones to violent illegal aliens, hardly any Dems present, those who are." You can see it also appears that an aide next to him is looking at a cell phone. So,
do y'all see how disrespectful these Democrats are being to the people that are literally testifying, doing their duty as American citizens to come forth and speak before the representatives and let them know, because these are people that have lost families through the illegal that have come into the United States that took their lives. And look at, one of them is literally on their phone and one of them is falling asleep while these families are trying to communicate to say, hey, will you please do something about the dang border?
here's what these migrant crime victims' families were saying during that hearing that you attended.
There are no words that describe the heart-wrenching, soul-crushing pain of losing your child so horrifically.
I know you have a little girl in your family. Imagine somebody undressing her. Maria was so covered in bruises, I had to go and shop for a funeral dress for her to cover the damage that that man did to her.
I made one tragic mistake, and it took his life. Our firstborn son, my everything, he was gone.
It's the most brutal crime that has happened in Maryland that they can even remember. I went to the funeral home because I had to decide if we could do an open casket.
Congressman, what was it like in the room?
It's heartbreaking.
You could have heard a pin drop. It was a tragic moment for the Judiciary Committee. We were riveted on the testimony of these victims' parents. As a father of daughters, it hits home to hear about how the open border policies of the Biden-Harris administration have impacted lives. And, we have to bring it home to Democrats on the committee who refuse to listen, who refuse to acknowledge that these open border policies are hurting Americans, killing young people, bringing in drugs, bringing in human trafficking, sex trafficking, gangs, violence. And so we have to bring these horrible stories right to them, to their doorstep, and hopefully they will listen and they can change their policies. But right now, these open border policies are still having an impact right here in this country.
All right.
And Americans are tired of it.
Real quick, well,
And that's the bit that's the big part. There's so much that has been done in this past 3.5 years, leaving the border open, allowing these foreign wars, Putin's trying to overtake Ukraine. We have the inflation and all the weaponization of the government. And this is where what you're about to hear, they're done. Like Trump and JD Vance said, we're done with it. We're coming in. If we win, we're cleaning house. We're firing everybody. From the CIA leader, the FBI leader, the DHS, the CDC, everybody that has been involved with Biden, they're gone. Check this out.
Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, on the subject of censorship, since we're on with Elon, we know what's happening in Brazil. Sure. They blocked X. Now they've taken Starlink, to my understanding. Are we going to see any blowback if you and President Trump take office about all of the censorship that happened before? Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg just released that letter saying, "Oh, I fell to victim to the FBI pressure and made a censor." Are we going to see any repercussions for people that censored?
Yes, we're going to fire the people who censored. We're going to fire the people who were telling Mark Zuckerberg and all the other technology companies that they needed to censor. Fire the 50 intelligence operatives who said that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. A lot of those people still have security clearances. Strip every single one of those people of their security clearances. Fire every single person. You cannot lie. Take your position of public trust and lie to the American people for political purposes. It's disgraceful, and people have to suffer consequences for it.
And that's the thing too, because with the Biden-Harris administration, they don't fire anybody. Nobody ever gets fired. Nobody got fired for the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Nobody got fired for what? For the border wall. Nobody's gotten fired over anything having to do with Israel, Hamas, or whatnot. They just don't fire anybody. And that's why they say, hey, I'm coming in. We're going to fire everybody. We're going to clean house. We're going to make sure that we do what's right by the American people and get their trust back. Because Harris, there's nothing there. There's literally nothing there. Check it out.
He is again talking about a Reuters interview after the debate. Reuters, folks, Reuters. They're to the left of Lenin. You're talking about commies here. Reuters interviewed 10 swing voters after the debate and gave the story an intriguing headline. Some undecided voters not convinced by Harris after debate with Trump. She notes that's one way to put it. 6 said afterward they would now either, 6 out of 10, folks, not 6 out of 100. 6 out of 10 said afterwards they would now either vote for Trump or were leaning towards backing Trump, the piece explains. 1 remained undecided.
So if you think that Kamala Harris won that debate, nope. All it did was reveal the bias. It revealed that she worked with the ABC moderators. It was a rigged debate, and people saw through all that, and they heard Trump, and now they're wanting to vote for Trump.
And only 3 backed Harris. Here's another one. A New York Times interview of 8 undecided voters after the debate found 2 leaning towards Mr. Trump, 1 towards Miss Harris, the rest extremely confused. Like your boy said. She notes other outlets produced similar mixed results. Guys, ladies, I will never screw you over.
Sorry,
Trump
guys.
win. If Trump did something catastrophically stupid and lost the debate, it does me no favors. The one thing their team respects about me is I always tell them the truth, okay? I don't bother them. They don't need my advice. They're doing just fine without me. However, it's helpful that we're the #1 podcast in the world with a huge audience every day and we can crowdsource. I'm telling you, he did not lose that debate.
No, I don't think
People
he did.
were left confused because snapshots were terrible for Kamala Harris. The pictures were awful, but the sound bites were worse. She did 2 things. She either didn't answer the question asked. So if you go back to that Wall Street Journal thing, voters were left extremely confused because she didn't answer the question. Or when she did answer the question, she just lied and the media got nailed. There it is. The rest left extremely confused. It's exactly what I said before these articles came out. I just don't want you wasting your time with these other shows, man. I'm really sorry. The sound bites were all lies. Here, I want to play this video. Kamala Harris on this. So this came out, right? Remember I said they are not going to put the sound bites out there and make anything viral because the minute they do, they're going to get fact-checked. Remember Kamala Harris? Trump said, hey, listen, she supports sex changes for prisoners and illegals. And the media was like, oh, my gosh, this is crazy. Play the video.
Lee, sorry, y'all.
They were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And there was a specific case. And when I learned about the case, I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it wasn't only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need.
Oh, just so if you don't know, that's not medical care. That's called elective surgeries. Just like when people want to go get a nose job or they want to go do something like that, plastic surgery, it's elective. You don't have to do it. You don't need to do it.
Am I making the point without being a tool here, or am I overdoing it? The reason she had no sound bites is the media can't keep putting the sound bites out because she lied, and every time they put the sound bites out, someone airs something like this, and then people go, she really did support sex changes for prisoners and illegals. Or the cat thing. Trump said they're eating the cats. Let's do a TikTok video. And then people go look it up and they're like, damn, there's a really bad immigration problem in Springfield, Ohio. If the sound bites were real and authentic and they caught Trump in a lie, the media would be putting them all over. Look at Kamala wreck Trump. But they're not doing it. Why? This is why. Susan Glasser getting wrecked on Twitter at SPG1. She knows Trump made history last night for sure, insinuating he's lying about the dogs and cat story. And then she writes, Or Trump insisting that the VP wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in jail. Like, what an idiot Trump is. Off the top ropes. Macho Man style, right? The top ropes. Can we get a top ropes? Off the top ropes, folks. Like
this guy's crazy.
Community notes. Off the top ropes again. Kamala Harris told the ACLU she supports this policy. Quote, I support policies ensuring that federal prisoners and detainees are able to obtain medically necessary care for gender transition, including surgical care, while incarcerated or detained. Susan Glasser.
Do you see this, though? This is why people can't stand X, because people get community noted, they get fact-checked, and they can't lie. They can't use propaganda. People use community notes. I love what Elon did with this, but it makes sure that the people get the truth. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments.
You got wrecked. You got wrecked again. Was I right or was I right?
The whole thing that we're saying now more than ever is the entire debate. Think about it. Not one soundbite, not one thing that the left is trying to use for what? To say that she wrecked Trump. Nope, did not happen. Why? Because community notes, X, we can tell the truth. We got places like this channel that tell the truth. Because even with what you're about to see here, they can't run away from it. Kamala Harris cannot run away from Biden. There's no detaching them. It's been the Biden-Harris administration the entire time. Check this out.
Lawn. Kamala Harris still deflecting on the economy, voters' top issue this election.
But we can look at what the current administration, which is the Biden-Harris administration, is doing to project what a Harris administration could look like. So let's turn to the wall. We're not going off the wall. We're turning to the wall to see how her so-called opportunity economy could subtract from your earnings. I only go off the wall with Will, but I will go
that's a different brand.
on the wall with Brian Brimberg, though.
Hey, so look at this. Okay, this is monthly expenses today versus January 21. Swing states, Pete. Look how much more people are spending because of this.
So if I live in Michigan, I'm now spending $1,000 more a month on basic items.
Yeah.
Like, this is real. I don't know. Did y'all know that 75%, it's between 75 and 80% of Americans don't have $1,000 in a savings account for an emergency? And now we're spending $1,000 more just every month just to live and buy and do the same things that we were doing 3 years ago? This is crazy, but you know what? It's the facts, and this is why we got to vote.
You're talking about grocery, utility bills, insurance is one of the killers, but it's moved from goods to services, but that's the cumulative effect of the Biden-Harris inflation since 21. So we look at these numbers, these are huge numbers.
Have most people in Michigan, North Carolina, any of these states increase their income by $1,000 a month?
Not to keep up with that. Absolutely not. This is the treading water or falling further behind. I mean, that's people's problem.
So just to let you know, we're going to show this video in a moment. On average, the reason that you're seeing this is because expenses for the average American family have gone up 20%. Guess how much the government workers, their pay has gone up from 2021 till now? Over 40%. You tell me if that's fair for the government workers to get that when the average American who pays those taxes is hurting.
With this, if your incomes were growing, twice as fast as this, no problem.
Exactly.
But they're not.
And so this is why Kamala Harris is working hard economically to separate herself from the Biden years, because everyone feels, and I feel like these numbers in some ways are even undervalued. When we talk about where inflation is going, we talk about, meat is up 25%, but I feel like when I go, I'm paying twice what I paid 4 years ago.
Well, if you're a family with kids and you're carting them around in a big car, yeah, this is probably worse for you. But take a look at this. So rent and housing is one of the big issues right now, and Kamala Harris is trying to talk about that with this $25,000.
So we weren't even talking about rent on the previous screen. Now this is rent on top of it.
We're talking about it now. Just notice, number one, cost of rent and utilities is rising faster than home value. So people can't afford a home. They have to rent. That pushes up the price of renting, plus the electricity, everything to heat and cool your home. that's got people kind of on the brink in terms of affordability.
And now a lot of households are paying, half of renters spending more than 30% of their income on housing costs. What does that say to you?
Wow. This is the result. What it means is they don't have any margin left over for anything else. If you're paying more than 30% just to be in your home, how are you affording groceries? How are you affording fuel? You want to be lower than 30%. The point is you want to be below that number. That's kind of the healthy number. When you get above it, it means you're spending too much on housing. Remember Joe Biden always talked about from the middle out and the bottom up?
Yep.
Remember how this is financial struggles. This is for the average American. But remember, Kamala Harris could not answer one bit on the debate or in the interview after about the economy and what she would do to help these people out?
Breathing room. This was Harris's thing as well. This is the opposite of
so you're
that.
spending more than 30% on housing, and then your $1,000 more on utilities and everything else out of your pocket. That's where the real squeeze comes from. So she's talking about an opportunity economy. As best we can, we tried to put some meat on the bone here of what she's talking about.
So here's the solution. She's got this price gouging ban. I can tell you that is regulation beyond anything that we've seen before. The $25,000 first-time home buyers credit, that's inflationary. We talked about that earlier in the show. It's going to actually jack up the cost of buying a home, and it's going to raise prices.
It's what happens every time government gets involved, right? If they throw money at it, prices increase.
So now here's the thing, Peter. What I want you to see, she's really touting these child tax credits.
Yeah, a new one, $6,000 child tax credit.
First year of life. Okay, fine. It's expensive to raise kids, to have kids. I think there's a lot of parents who like this stuff. But here's what happened under Biden. So we saw this, and then we saw the inflation. Okay, and what ended up happening is the Biden-Harris inflation ate up the benefit of these things. So on the one hand, the government's trying to give you something. On the other hand, they're taking it away. And the net result is you don't even remember what this felt like because you're paying $1,000 more a month.
Yep.
This is not going to cover.
And the reason we got a lot of this.
So think about that. What he just said, they're trying to tout. Harris is trying to come out and say, hey, we're going to give you $6,000 for children. What about what about people that don't have kids? They're still paying that $1,000 extra per month. That's over $12,000 a year. I don't care if you raise the child tax credit from $3,000 to $6,000, you're still $6,000 in the hole for people that have kids, and you're $12,000 in the hole for people that don't have kids. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Is, Green New Deal, Inflation Reduction Act was actually added to inflation, tons of new spending, while the estimated cost of all of this, Brian, and from what we understand, $1.7 trillion on Harris's economic agenda. That's just an estimate and probably just the tip of the iceberg.
And I'll tell you, it's money we don't have.
That's
the bottom line.
Where are we at in our debt right now? Is it
$35.2 trillion?
That's so bad.
Wow, every morning,
not getting better.
The economy.
It's so bad. And what's even worse is what you're about to see here, because this makes me frustrated. That you got government workers that they're getting paid 40% more. This is so bad. Check this out.
Again, the numbers are always wrong. And again, we go back to the debate in regard to crime and on jobs. The federal government, the federal bureaucrats don't get it right. So my question for you is this incompetence or is this intentional?
Well, I think there's a very good case to be made that it starts out as incompetence, but now we're getting to the point where you have to wonder, why is nothing being done? This is particularly true in the labor market statistics where, Sean, we could see that there were problems dating all the way back to the spring of 2022. And I understand that a lot of things have changed in the economy in a post-pandemic world. And so it makes sense you would need to adapt and change your models, your methodologies, et cetera. And the fact that we are now 2 years later and nothing has been done, the Labor Department has done nothing to correct these issues, I'm sorry, that's a cause for alarm.
EJ, I want to move on to this. Kamala Harris's mouthpiece tried to defend her record on dealing with the debt and the deficit.
When it comes to people who care about the debt and deficit, I think that they want to see that people are willing to raise the revenues to pay for their plans. And I think with Vice President Harris, she's put forward a suite of proposals to make sure that we have the right revenues to help pay for some of her proposals.
The debt and the deficit, really? So they've added almost $8 trillion to the debt. And in an economy that is slowing dramatically, she wants to hike, say, capital gains taxes to the highest level since 1978. And Ian Sam said, oh, well, I come on this network. Her proposal isn't as horrible as Joe Biden's. I expect a little something, a little pat on the back, that she doesn't want to raise taxes as much as Joe Biden. But again, the highest on capital, all in cap gains since 1978. And he expects some huzzas because they've jacked the debt to 36 trillion.
Well, if you want to kill investment, which means killing economic growth, a higher capital gains tax rate is the perfect way to do that. And we should point out that not only are they going to add about $8 trillion to the debt, but also run down Treasury's cash balance by another $1 trillion. So it's really $9 trillion of overspending. And that's about a quarter of the entire national debt when these people leave office in January. So
did you hear that? Keyword, overspending. We didn't have to spend it. $9 trillion. They spend, and it's our taxpayer dollars. They don't care because it's not coming from their bank account. It's coming from our bank account. And yet they want to keep asking for more? Are you kidding me?
Actually, they are responsible for 25% of the nation's debt, despite having only been there for 4 years. That's pretty remarkable. But on top of that, we need to really put in perspective, I think, just how bad the fiscal situation is here, and the fact that it's not a question of revenue like that gentleman was just saying. We are taking in plenty of revenue. The issue is too much spending. We just got the monthly Treasury statement for August. It was the worst deficit for any August we have ever had in the history of this country. About 55 cents of every dollar the government spent had to be borrowed. We have spent now over $1 trillion just in interest on the debt, not paying it down a dime, just the interest. We've never done that before in any fiscal year, and we still have another month to go before this fiscal year ends.
We're approaching a death spiral.
Oh, and he also slipped up and said, we've lowered the deficit, which is a lie, too, because the deficit is up this year from last. But go ahead.
But let's move to this, EJ, because the Biden administration is slapping big tariff hikes on Chinese imports, including a 100% duty on electric vehicles, 50% tariff on chips, and a 25% tariff on batteries and steel. And so,
hey, for y'all watching, I just want you to know this. Everything that you're seeing here, that's what Trump just said that he was planning to do. He literally said, we're going to do this with China to be tough on them. Biden and Harris don't know what to do. All they're doing is waiting for Trump to say something, and then they act on it and then try to make it their own idea.
This is where Kamala Harris talks out of both sides of her mouth. In the debate, she was just talking about all these tariffs are passed off to the consumers, and it's a tax on the consumer, giving a hard time to Donald Trump. But here, Kamala and Joe are doing the exact same thing she was giving Donald Trump a hard time for in the debate. You can't have it both ways.
Wow. Sean, that's exactly right. And look, there's a lot of misunderstandings in terms of tariffs and taxes on international trade. Look, there's essentially no difference between taxing international trade or taxing domestic trade. The question is just which would you rather tax? Would you rather have an income tax, for example, or would you rather have tariffs? Again, taxes on domestic trade versus international trade. And it doesn't matter who puts them in place. We should also be clear about that, whether the Trump administration puts them in place or whether the Biden administration puts them in place. Who is the actor here?
Did you hear that? Whether the Biden administration or Trump puts it in place, it's literally Trump's ideas. This is so bad. What just bothers me is that there's going to be a lot of people that see this and think Biden and Harris are actually being tough when all they're doing is just copying Trump.
Not going to change the effect on the American people.
Can I add one thing on these EVs? 100% tariff on imported EVs from China. They are mandating that almost 70% of cars made in this country in 8 years will be all electric or at least partially electric. But they are essentially banning any car that is inexpensive from coming in from China. This will jack up the amount of money that the federal government has to subsidize this money-losing boondoggle of an effort, EJ. That's what doesn't make any sense, that they would slap 100% tariff on EVs at the same time forcing automakers to make them and Americans to buy them. Fiscally, it is insane.
That is insane.
Well, that seems to be the pattern, though, for this administration, doing things that are fiscally insane. Look, the regulatory machines that they have put in place at this point have burdened the American people with thousands of dollars in additional costs per family, and oftentimes those higher regulatory burdens aren't even captured in our inflationary metrics. So when we talk about the cost of living being up $10,000 or $20,000 for families, again, the regulatory burden is on top of that. So what they've essentially done is created a situation where they're going to force you to buy an EV because of the crazy CAFE standards, but then on top of that, they're going to make the EVs even more expensive by putting these punitive taxes in place.
Right. No, EJ, can you believe that? Like, I don't know who supports gas, EV, or whatnot. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But the government's trying to force everybody to buy something, which I think is wrong. They're literally putting laws, already have it in certain states, that they're going to force people that you're not allowed to buy a brand new gas car. Washington, Oregon, California, by like 2035, something like that. And then the government wants to raise the tariffs and the taxes on the same thing that they're trying to force you to buy. I'm telling you, if these people don't know how to run a dang economy, it's just like, get Trump in office. Let this dude help out the average American. This is ridiculous. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But check this out.
Why are Democrats so...
Oh, sorry, y'all. They're buffering. Come on, don't buffer on me. Sorry, y'all, 1 second.
Why are Democrats so hell-bent on the rights of illegals?
Let me think, Sean. Could it be that they think they're getting something out of it? Check this out. What does the average American gain from this? The fact is your schools are going to have more students in them.
Lisa Berg, thank you so much for the super chat. You said whatever they do, it's going to be moot, or it will be totally done wrong, making it a worse situation. I hope it's less for DJT to do so he can concentrate on putting the Dems out of business. 100%. Thank you so much. Everybody show Lisa some love in the chat.
They're going to have to hire more teachers who speak different languages. Some hospitals are going broke, like in Denver, Colorado. The state of Massachusetts has spent that $1.5 billion so far this year. New York City spent $5 billion, and that's going to double by next year. This is costing America a fortune while we suffer under the inflation of the Biden-Harris administration. So you have to say to yourself, Sean, we must be getting something out of this. I'm here to tell you we're getting nothing out of this. American citizens are being pushed to the back of the line. People who are trying to come here legally are being pushed to the back of the line. The people who are coming here are unvetted. We don't know who they are. They come from countries that don't want them back, and they offer nothing other than the opportunity for themselves to make money. Let's talk about the fact that the fentanyl, the border crossing.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this title at the bottom. Dems roll out latest free handouts for illegals. They already get free housing assistance, free cell phones, free internet, SNAP food stamps, Medicare. Like he said, why are the Democrats so adamant to help these people out, to bring them in? I'm all about helping people out, but we got a lot of American citizens that need help. Why? It's because of the vote.
The child trafficking, the human trafficking, the gun trafficking that Kamala talks about, none of that is being stopped under the Biden-Harris administration. So you have to say to yourself, so what does America get out of this? America gets nothing out of this. Right now, we have a housing crisis. We don't have enough for housing for Americans.
Yep.
We've got illegals living in hotels in New York City. 50% of the hotels have illegals living in them. And people are...
Did y'all hear that? 50% of the hotels in New York City are being lived in rent-free by illegals on the taxpayer dollars.
Afraid to walk the streets that they built years ago. It's for power. The Democrats want power, and they are not afraid to claim this is who we are, starting with Barack Obama. And this doozy, Walz, he says if they build a 25-foot wall, I'm going to invest in 30-foot ladders. And he wants to give them licenses. Well, let's just talk about licenses and all of the, not just the accidents, but the fact that Americans have to pay 55% more in auto insurance while illegals are driving with virtually no insurance. Americans have to pay for 20% more for food. Illegals get it for free. Americans spend 27% more on energy. Illegals get it for free. This is an overthrow of the American way of life. And we're all immigrants. I get it. But this is to the point where we are in serious jeopardy right now. From healthcare to education to financially destroying Medicare. And let me say one more thing. Kamala Harris is lying to you. When she wants you to think she's a moderate, even Bernie Sanders says she's saying what she's got to say to win an election. And if you're stupid enough to buy it, shame on you.
I'm telling you what, Judge Janine be getting fired up about this, but I'm fired up too, because I believe in fairness. I believe in doing what's right. And regardless of what other people do, I can't control other people's actions, but I can control my own. And I need to do, and I believe in doing what's right. Because things are getting so bad, Melania Trump, Donald Trump's wife, is coming out and speaking out and releasing a lot more videos about what the heck has been going on behind the scenes from her point of view. And I'm telling you, you don't see a lot from her. It's always about Donald Trump. Listen to this.
I never imagined my privacy would be invaded by the government here in America. The FBI raided my home in Florida and searched through my personal belongings. This is not just my story. It serves as a warning to all Americans, a reminder that our freedom and rights must be respected.
Man, dude, I'm telling you what, it's like she's coming out, she's finally speaking up, coming out over what she's been experiencing. Because right now, all you hear from Kamala Harris, from Tim Walz, Joe Biden, it's Trump's fault, it's Trump's fault, it's Trump's fault. But this is a mic drop that you're about to hear because it's the truth, yet they don't want to admit it. Check this out.
Is that she's in the White House right now. Democrats have controlled the White House for 12 of the last 16 years. And for all of the talk about division and the problems in the country and people are hurting, Democrats have mostly controlled this country. Trump had it for 4. The Obamas and Biden had it for the rest of the time. And somehow, it's still all Trump's fault, and somehow she hasn't been at the center of it. So to me, that's still the glaring hole in this campaign that hasn't yet been solved at the convention. How do you explain all of the problems that will be solved by the person who is currently in there for the last 3.5 years, who is supposed to already be working on solving it? But in all these speeches, as good as they were, is that she's in the White House right now.
And that's the whole truth. You can't, I just feel so strongly about this, that people are done and people are like, you can't lie to us anymore. We see through it. We're not, you can't just keep gaslighting us, because what you're about to see is that you've been hearing about the cats and the dogs. You've been hearing about all that from Trump. You see the TikTok video. Well, things have gotten so bad right now that the Attorney General is coming out and looking to do some big things in Springfield, Ohio, because of what is happening in that city that is hurting a lot of people. Check this out.
That's singer John Legend weighing in on his hometown of Springfield, Ohio, where an influx of Haitian immigrants has become a political flashpoint. For more on this, let's bring in the Attorney General for the state of Ohio, Dave Yost. Dave, thank you for taking time. And as John Legend pointed out there, it is nearly a third of the population has now come to this tiny town. In fact, we can show you the numbers. It's 15 to 20,000 Haitians in the past 4 years have come to this town of 58,000. That's quite a significant number. Let me start, Dave, with asking you, what has been the impact of this influx on Springfield?
Well, you know, the people in Springfield are good-hearted people. They're not mean. They try to help folks that need a helping hand. There's not a town in the country that can absorb a quarter to a third of its own population that doesn't speak the English and is coming here for the first time. The systems there are breaking. For example, there was 150 or so students that were Haitians last year. This year, it's over 500. There's 4,000, more than 4,000 Haitians that are receiving public assistance, which is partly paid for by the state government. Everybody's got a stake in this, and this isn't about who, it's about how many.
Yeah, Dave, in fact, I've covered extensively on this network the CHNV program, the controversial legal pathway program to bring Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelans here. It was recently paused because of evidence of fraud, recently restarted. But under that, on the CBP website, more than 205,000 specific Haitians have come into this country since January of last year. And I understand you are looking at a possible lawsuit, looking at legal pathways to see just how far the federal government's power goes. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, let's think about an absurd extension. If the federal government has no limits on its power, could they, for example, resettle all 10 or 12 million people that have come in the last 4 years into America in Ohio? That would double our population. There's no way the state and its towns could absorb that. We already have problems with housing crisis and healthcare access in places. So the question is, what is the limiting principle on federal supremacy here, and what can they do to a member state without the state's consent? These are important questions, and we're looking for a way to get this in front of the federal judge. Taking a look right now at the authorizing statute and the rules that run this program, that govern this program, and to see whether that's within proper legal bounds.
Do you anticipate?
Do you see this? The Attorney General for Ohio is looking at a lawsuit against the federal government, against Biden and Harris administration, because they've brought in all these, over 100,000 Haitian illegal, these are legal immigrants. They didn't go through the immigration process the normal way. They just brought them in. They're dumping, not dumping, but they're sending them to these towns. And these towns are like, wait, well, what do we do now? We take care of them. And the federal government's like, just take care of them. And these towns don't have the housing. They don't have the funds or anything like that to actually sustain them. Now you've got states that are literally going to sue the federal government because they can't handle this dang immigration problem that they created, that all they're trying to do is get votes. That's how bad it is. Let me know your thoughts.
You'll bring legal action?
We're looking. I can't give you an estimate just yet. The creative and nearly impossible take a little bit of time.
Mr. Attorney General, is Springfield or the state of Ohio receiving any federal money to support this resettlement of this population?
Well, sure, there's some federal money. Obviously, the federal government pays for part of Medicaid. There's federal money for SNAP
food stamps, healthcare.
So it's not that there's no money, but there certainly is not any close to the resources that you need to provide housing for 20,000 people. What town of 60,000 could find housing for 20,000 people almost overnight? You just can't do it. And across the country, we're already having this debate about affordable housing. This is exacerbating it.
And you know what upsets me is, like, I know that they're saying it because that's what it's called, the federal government. But the federal government didn't send that money. That's not the federal government's money. That's the taxpayers' money. That's American citizens' money. that is being sent over there to do these things. And then even in that state, it's taxpayers' money that's taking care of all these benefits for all these illegals. And I wish they would say that more. Let me know your thoughts. I get tired of hearing how many times it's the federal government who's spending this. No, it's taxpayer dollars. It's not their money. It doesn't come from their pockets. It's coming from Americans' pockets, you and I's pocket. We just have these dang politicians who feel like they can do whatever they want and they're not even held accountable. Because I'm telling you what, we've got a huge tax crisis at hand. If something isn't done, a lot of American people are going to be hurting. Check this out.
Is certain. If the tax cuts do expire, Americans will face a hike. The Tax Foundation finding that a couple with 2 kids making $165,000 a year would have to pay over $2,400 more in taxes.
Let's bring in Kevin O'Leary, O'Leary Ventures chairman, to weigh in on this. Always great to have you with us, Kevin, and let's start there. If Kamala Harris was elected president, there are many different tax policies which could cripple the economy, but the first thing she wants to do is allow these Trump tax cuts to expire. That has business implications, that has implications for people on a personal level. Can you kind of tease it out for us?
There's multiple effects that we have to worry about. First of all, the personal ones, obviously. Taxes will go up with her proposals, but she's admitting that. She's not denying it. I mean, that's a debate that's going on in terms of the classic make the rich pay their fair share. That's a narrative that goes into every single election cycle. Now, the more concerning one for the economy, not just personal taxes, is corporate tax rates. That, at her proposed 28%, would put the U.S. economy in an uncompetitive position. Last time we did this to ourselves, we started to see dislocation of headquarters moving to places like Ireland and other lower tax jurisdictions. That we shouldn't do. That's a mistake. For either party, that's a huge mistake. We're right in the middle right now in the G7, G20. So if all of a sudden we start charging 28 corporate tax rates plus add-on state in some cases, you're in the 30s. And that's just not competitive anymore in terms of the G20 or G7. That's to me, the most horrific outcome, and I'm very nervous about that.
Kevin, we love having you on the program because every day you're talking to entrepreneurs, people who have great ideas, big ideas, creating innovations in this market. What are some of those entrepreneurs telling you about the investing or the creating environment in this current climate?
Well, the uncertainty is what we're all worried about. I mean, you know, we all have to work regardless of who's in the White House come November 6th. And
That's true.
We'd like to get some idea of policy. This is a policy-light election. I'm disappointed that Harris doesn't give us more policy specifically on taxes, specifically on corporate taxes. I need to know that. So does everybody else. Remember, this is the #1 economy on earth.
Yes.
The American economy. 50% of capital invested worldwide comes here. We don't want to do anything to change that. And the #1 export of America is not a product or service. It's the American dream. There's a reason people are willing to risk their lives to come here. We don't want to do anything to change that. And that's why I'm so concerned about tax policy on capital formation. The higher you raise corporate taxes, the harder it is to create capital opportunity. And that's what I'm worried about. The American dream is at stake. Everybody should think about that. Everybody. That has what's kept this economy going for over 200 years. It is the #1 export.
Kevin, I'm going to switch gears with you for a second and talk about something you've identified as one of the next great market spaces. That's healthy snacks. You got our attention when you mentioned that a few weeks ago. But I got to tell you, we just did a story yesterday on how they're now making these weight loss drugs for kids as young as like first grade or kindergarten. So I look at you and healthy snacks, and I look at this movement. By the way, online influencers pushing this everywhere. Senators are going after them for this. Kevin, isn't that a problem for the healthy snack market? Did you pick the wrong space? Isn't it all about the weight loss drugs now?
The answer for longevity and fitness is not drugs. That's not a great idea. It's a healthy lifestyle, some exercise, and eat moderately. That's really what we should be pushing. And part of that solution is healthy snacks. I mean, I just think about as I, past 40 years old, how I changed my diet. And I did it because I want to live longer and I want to enjoy the extended back period. But no, I'm not a fan of this drug idea. No, I'm not worried about all of these drugs you inject yourself with taking away from healthy eating. I mean, and by the way, this is the fastest growing. I'm out here in California. I just went through the earthquake a few minutes ago before I logged on. That was funky. It felt like a wave going through this hotel room. But we're shooting Shark Tank, and this year I've never seen more in the focus around reducing sugar, reducing sodium, and bringing more natural elements to snacks.
That's great.
Never before.
It's great.
It's good. It's good stuff. We need to be healthy because I'm telling you this, Rfk Jr. super adamant about it, and Trump already said that he would be in charge of the health and making sure that Americans can get healthier. Because right now, like, it's just insane. My wife, she's, we got to make sure the kids are healthy. They're eating healthy. But it's very surprising. All the ingredients that are in everything that we eat and drink. And if you go to countries overseas, they don't allow those ingredients. Even in the UK, they don't allow them because they're not healthy. But yet, why do we allow them in the United States? That's the question to ask. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And also, too, if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. We really appreciate everybody, and we appreciate your support. Thank you so much to Lisa Berg for the super chat. It is such a blessing to us, and we just want to serve you. And just want to remind everybody that we want to grow and do positive change. We want to do more with this channel. And so that's why we're doing the True Life News community. The links are in the description to join. It's less than $1 per month. And what we're going to do is take that money and we're going to go do positive change. We want to help the homeless. We want to help those in need. We want to help children with better education. We want to do big, big things, but we need your help. So if you don't mind joining, we really appreciate that. And we just want to bring the truth to people, no matter where it comes from, and continue serving you every single day. We love you. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate all of our members of the channel. And just want to say thank you to y'all. Y'all have a great one, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.